Hey, what's going on? This is the second episode of the Body Punch podcast, which is live. What a crazy, crazy fight. What a crazy main event. What an awesome card. Especially having the fans come back for this one. What a special night of fights. My name is Naz. This is the Body Punch podcast. Super excited to be doing the second live show and especially talking about this kind of a card from top to bottom, having such spectacular, amazing fights. Now, because of the amazing nature of this card, I thought I would bring on my friend Nibs, who can introduce himself now. Go ahead.
Hey guys, I've been on the show before, so I'm happy to come on again. Man, these fights were really crazy, so yeah, I'm a big fan of this card.
You know, Nibs, for this kind of a show, for UFC 261 to start and finish like the way it did, it just shows you how much the fans are worth to the actual sport itself. The 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 MMA community, it just brings another level to UFC events. Having a packed crowd like the way that we saw was just amazing. It just brought back so many memories. It's like, honestly, it was we got so used to having no fans at the events, and and hearing all the corners and hearing all what the fighters are saying. We got so used to it. It was almost a year and a half, almost 2 years, where we were listening to just the fighters and just the coaches in the arena. You could hear the commentators speaking to the fighters, and for this kind of event, the way that it ended, we're gonna go through the whole card here, and from top to bottom, from the early prelims, we saw some special fights there. The main event was spectacular, a lot of drama, some unfortunate events that we're gonna talk about, but just overall, the card was something special, and I think it was capped off by having all of these fans and just seeing people come together again was just amazing. All the fighters brought it. I think that we can see the power that these fans have, that gives these fighters this kind of like extra oomph, if you will. And it just, as a spectator watching it on TV, it's it adds a whole different level. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it really is something special. Nibs, if you want to just discuss this being the first event, with fans coming back.
I mean, what a way to just bring back the fans with like this quality of fights because we've seen like a bunch of knockouts. We'll get into that later, but wow, just to have that atmosphere, like it brought so much hype to the fights. Like we see in other sports like the NBA and the NHL, how they have to pump in crowd noise, but it's just like never the same. So to have like that authenticity back to the sport, it's just amazing. Like, wow, seeing some of those knockouts and actually hearing the fans just roar and the crowd just erupting. It's just a whole nother thing. It's way different than having no fans at all. And like you said before, it was pretty cool, like actually hearing the conversations before. But I mean, with the fans back, it's just a way better viewing experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. I know, me and you have been to events together, and we know how special it is going to events and having that atmosphere of all the fans there. It's just, it's something crazy, and it's somewhat of a camaraderie kind of effect. And there was so much drama at this event. We talked about in our previous live show, actually, we talked about the Jake Paul fight against Ben Askren. Jake Paul made an appearance at this event. We saw videos come out where fans were going after Jake Paul, and DC actually went after Jake Paul while he was commentating, which I thought was pretty funny. But there was so much drama that was involved. in the whole show itself, so many amazing knockouts, so many special moments, and what a way for the UFC to make a comeback. And I think you're right. I was thinking about this while watching the actual card itself, watching the full card. When it comes to all the other sports, it's so different. When you had Masvidal come in and you had Usman come in and the fans were just cheering and booing, and it was just it was crazy, and you could see how it hyped up the fighters. Now, let's get into the card itself. I just wanted to talk about some of the early prelim cards, fights. Some of those fights were just spectacular. Just the whole card. Most of the fights actually on the prelim were really special. The early prelim, if I'm not mistaken, and from top to bottom. Let's talk about this main event though. So, our first one is going to be Anthony Smith and Jimmy Crute. Now, this fight was turning out to be, it looked like it was going to be Jimmy Crute using the power that he has, using the special power that he has at the young age that he's at, but he's a big boy for that 205-pound division. It looked like he had somewhat of the power advantage, but you could also see that Anthony Smith was going in there and shooting that piston of a jab that he has and really catching Jimmy Crute. I think that it really affected Jim Crute. And you could see that he was wobbled a couple times in that first round. Now, the fight actually ended by a doctor stoppage. And honestly, they're calling it a first round doctor stoppage. But Jimmy Crute did sit down at the end of the round. And while he was getting up, the doctor told him to come forward. Now, the doctor said, come forward. Jimmy Crute was like screaming at him and coming forward. And it looked like everything was good. But then he backed up and he wobbled. And I was asking so many people about this. And I was talking to so many people right after the fight and during the fight itself. I was like, man, this guy is a warrior. It looks like he's going to be able to come back in and do something to Anthony Smith. I don't know if he was able to still stand at that moment when he was coming forward. But then when he backed up and he wobbled on his ankle, man, that looked bad. We could see that Anthony Smith was getting that jab across, but if Jim Crute had to get back in there in that second round, he would have to use his wrestling, which he displayed at the end of the round, where he got that somewhat lucky, and I'm not saying this in a demeaning way, but he got that really lucky shot at the end of that round, and it brought Anthony Smith to the ground. Now, Jim Crute, I don't know what he would have done if he had to go back into that second round. Do I think that this was a good stoppage? I think so. It looked like the fighter was really. It looked like Jim Crute was not able to, get back into there. It would have been another round of what we saw, because even at the end of the fight, and Nibs, I would love to get your opinion on this, but even at the near the end of the fight, when the fight was called off, Jim Crute was walking around the octagon, and you could still see that he had that dead foot. Now, Anthony Smith got Jim Crute in that special spot that we've been seeing in some fighters these days. Back in the day, we saw Mike Chandler get affected by that dead leg, getting right in that knee area. That's the sweet spot that you want to kick if you want to shut down someone's leg like that. Now, another interesting thing that I want to discuss with you, Nibs, is the fact is that Anthony Smith was pumping that jab, and I love to see that in MMA. We see that in boxing all the time. But the one thing I did want to note, and I believe DC or Rogan pointed this out, was the fact is that when you pump a jab like that in MMA, your front leg is exposed because you have to put so much power into that front leg, and it's just exposed for your opponent to kick at. Now, we didn't see that come to fruition. Jim Crute is a warrior, and he it looked like this guy still wanted to fight. What a special fight. This is a good thing for Anthony Smith. Some people are going to say that it was a lucky kind of shot, and it's the same thing that happened to Sugar Sean O'Malley. But Anthony Smith did get Jim Crute with that shot, and this is something that affected him really badly. Nibs, give me your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as we saw him wobble, I mean, I thought immediately that he was just going to go down and they were going to stop him, but we immediately saw Jim just going for the tackle. Like, I mean, good on him because he's like a lion. He's very fierce. And yeah, as you said before, when the doctor was checking in on him, took a few steps back, wobbled. I mean, I definitely think that the doctors made a good decision on this because if he can't even walk normally, then what else is he supposed to do? But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that Anthony did very well in this fight because hitting somebody in the back of the knee like that, that's just perfect placement on him. So, um, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the fight, and it was pretty unfortunate for Jim to go out like that, but I still think it was a pretty skilled fight on Anthony, and there's nothing much that he could do.
Yeah, totally. I think that you hit the nail on the head. Jim Crute, what a warrior! What a way to go out. It's, he has a very he has a lot of ceiling on his career still, and I think that he's very young. He's like 25 years old. He's still got a lot to look forward to in his career. This is just one kind of stumble, and we've seen it in the past before with a couple of fighters. We've seen it where fighters have had this effect, and this has happened to them, and they come back and they win. And look at Sean O'Malley. He's a good example of that. He came back and won that fight. He was able to just level up right after. So that was that fight. I mean, what a win for Anthony Smith. He did get that shot. Like I said, we shouldn't really look down upon him. And what I mean by that is it wasn't a lucky shot. He got him in the spot. We've seen so many fighters get affected by that shot. We've seen Conor McGregor. We've seen so many high-profile fighters get affected by that dead leg, if you will. So let's talk about the next one. Now, the next one was super tough for me to watch, and it was Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. Now, Chris Weidman, how can you not root for this guy? The All-American, the guy to defeat Anderson Silva. And before this fight, we saw Stephen Wonderboy Thompson actually come onto the Joe Rogan podcast, and he kind of explained the fact that Weidman's had just a whole bunch of surgeries. He's had so many surgeries in his career, and this is just another one to add on to. If you guys watched Weidman's leg when he tried getting his planting his legs back down, the way that it folded, it was just gruesome to watch. Honestly, it was very tough, and it's just sad to see, especially for a guy that did have hopes and aspirations to come back and win that belt that's eluded him after being a reigning champion. Honestly, what do I think is going to happen to Chris Weidman now? I think really he's got to really think about what's next for him in his career. He's reached the age where retirement is a question for him, and now he's had a gang of injuries. He's had disc fusions. He's had so many injuries coming into this fight, and this is just another one that is added on top of that. Megan O'Leary, after the fight, mentioned that Chris Weidman is going to he's already admitted to the hospital, and now he's getting a surgery tomorrow. And you could see the anguish and pain that he had leaving the octagon and being on that stretcher and having that thing around his leg. And it was just a tough scene to watch. And he kept his hands high, and he was in agony and pain. But let's talk about Uriah Hall here. Uriah Hall being the first UFC fighter to ever win a fight by not throwing any strikes. But Uriah Hall, full of class, after that fight, talked about Chris Weidman, talked about how he affected his career because these two did fight each other before, and Chris Weidman got the better of Uriah Hall at the time. It was a tough scene to watch. It was hard to watch that replay, man, especially to such a nice guy like Chris Weidman. I remember when Chris was the champion, and we would watch the embeddeds, and you would see his little kids, and his little kid. I can't forget this, but he held a little, action figures of Chris Weidman, and he thought his dad was a superhero. It was just he's just one of the nice guys in the sport, and it's hard to see this kind of stuff happen to him. But Uriah Hall, he, what a professional, what a way to kind of handle this situation. It was just a tough situation to be a part of. Uriah Hall really wanted this win back, and the way when I first heard when Chris hit Uriah Hall's leg, I thought he really damaged Uriah Hall, but it was actually the snap of Weidman's leg that caused that sound. And we talked about it at the top of the show, but the amount of noise that was in that arena, and to hear that snapping just shows you how devastating it was. Nibs, I know you were watching this and you kept on watching the replay and all that kind of stuff, but let me know your thoughts about this.
I mean, whenever I see these types of things with these gruesome, I guess, knockouts, like his leg just absolutely snapped. There's nothing else to say, I guess, because, man, yeah, as you said, you got to feel bad for him because he's been through all of this, and now to have this happen to him, wow.
Yeah.
Uriah Hall, he handled it with class. Like, as you said, I was watching the replays, and you could see Uriah Hall after that happened, immediately after it, throw his hands up, and he was just like, "Oh my God! Like, what am I watching?" Like, yeah, it's very sad to see.
Yeah, it was just tough to see an ex-champion like Weidman go out like that. It's just it was a hard scene, and I think the UFC also held it with class, giving the report at the end of the show, because we talked about it. Jim Crute and Chris Weidman both had these issues, so and I think the UFC made the best out of the situation. Where do I see Uriah Hall next? I think Uriah Hall's got to get another fight that's in the league of Chris Weidman. We got to see him. We got to see him fight like an actual fight. This is an unfortunate situation, and we're hoping the best for Chris Weidman because, like I said, he's one of the nicest people in the sport, and it's just hard to see. So let's talk about the next fight right after. Valentina Shevchenko defeats Jéssica Andrade. Now, we're talking about, like, usually when we do these post-fight shows, I'll be honest with you, we kind of just go over the most exciting fights that happen. But this card was just packed, and we were talking about all the main event fights here, and Valentina Shevchenko really nullified Jéssica Andrade. It was just incredible to watch, and especially when you go into this fight and you say to yourself, how can Jéssica win this fight? Now, you say to yourself, okay, maybe it's the same way that she beat Rose Namajunas, by dumping her on her head and using the all the muscles that she has and using the physicality. But no, Valentina Shevchenko used her physicality against Jéssica Andrade and nullified, the physicality that she has. I'm going to say it over and over again, but it was just it was a special thing to watch, especially when you say to yourself, Valentina Shevchenko is a striker, one of the highest caliber strikers in the UFC, man or women, and to go in there and to wrestle Jéssica Andrade, one of the strongest flyweights and strawweights out there, someone that has fought in most of the women's divisions, I believe, except for the 145. I might be wrong about 135, but honestly, this is a person in Jéssica Andrade that has been there. She's fought for the belt. She's had the belt before. And for Valentina Shevchenko to go in and really bully Jéssica Andrade the way that she did, you can see it right now on the live stream that she got her in a crucifix, which is a really hard position to get her in, and just teed off on her head. Now, I think the stoppage wasn't due to the fact of the punches that were thrown in that crucifix position. I think it was the referee, and I forget who it was. It might have been Dan Murgulata, but I think it was due to the whole fight itself. In the whole fight, you could see that Valentina Shevchenko was really affecting Jéssica Andrade on the feet and then dumping her to the ground. And even then, she was just nullifying everything that Jéssica threw at her. It was an overall amazing fight to see, and especially with her at the end of the fight saying to everybody, "You're looking for the holes, but you're not going to find any. I'm a good wrestler. I'm an amazing striker. I can do it all." And to see the family and everybody, the coaches and everybody behind her at such a young age, starting in Muay Thai, I believe, or kickboxing. I think it was Muay Thai, and then at such a young age, and having her and her sister, her elder sister, being in the sport and being high-level UFC athletes is just amazing to see. And for Valentina to just buzzsaw everybody, it's just crazy. Now, some people are mentioning that Amanda Nunes has to fight Valentina Shevchenko after this fight. And even after the Amanda Nunes fight against Megan Anderson, people were mentioning that was the fight to make. I think that this just kind of hit the nail on the head, that this is the fight that needs to be made next. And I think even though they fought twice already, they got to have another one, because for either one of these fighters, there's not many out there that can really challenge them in any of the divisions that they're at, be it the 135, 145, or this flyweight fight. So I think that's the fight that needs to be made next. What a spectacular win for Valentina Shevchenko, and to have 3 title fights on here, and for her to do what she did to Jéssica Andrade, who's one of the strongest people in MMA in general, especially in that women's, in any of those women's division, is just incredible. Nibs, let me know what you think of this, thought of this fight.
Well, what very much surprised me was that Andrade didn't have too much offense that we're usually used to. We saw that at the end, she had like a cut open on her face, and that led to the stoppage. So I think it was a really good stoppage, and a really good win by Valentina. As you said, it was just pure domination. So I mean, I don't really have too much more to add than that.
Yeah, it was just pure domination, second round stoppage. It was just, especially, again, I think the stoppage wasn't. It was due to the cut, like you said, and it was due to some other stuff. But it was the overall fight. I think Dan saw the fight, and he's like, "This has got to end now." Especially when the fight ended at 3 minutes and 19 seconds, and what more can you say? Like, she totally dominated her. Let's move on to the next one. What a spectacular win by Rose Namajunas. And wow, that was amazing. And honestly, that was not the way that we saw this fight ending. And what a win for Trevor Whitman and his team, especially for getting a win with Rose Namajunas, and then also getting a win with Kamaru Usman. Shows you how special Trevor Whitman is in his camp over there in Denver. Rose Namajunas, I'll be honest with you, I really thought that the way that she was going to win was just pumping the jab, being as active as possible, and using that fast twitch reflex that she has. She moves her whole body to get out of the way of punches and to get out of the power shots of Zhang Weili. It's crazy to see. Rose losing the belt and now winning the belt again, and you can see this this new invigoration that she has in the sport of MMA and being a UFC champion. You could tell, and she mentioned this by herself. This is not some words that I'm putting in her mouth, but she said that the belt put a lot of pressure on her. And now you can see that she can deal with it, and her and her husband and the team, Trevor Whitman, everybody out there, they're doing such an amazing job with Rose Namajunas. And the thing is that, yes, there was a lot of things that were happening at the beginning of the fight, but to stay composed, to throw that leg kick, you can see it in the clip or photo that we're showing right now. But to just drop Zhang Weili and just get her with that amazing shot is something spectacular. I thought it was incredible. What a moment for Rose Namajunas as well. Another person, one of the nicest people in the sport of mixed martial arts. And, there's a lot of controversy coming into this fight, but, that's all outside of the sport. Inside of the sport, it's just, it's incredible to see what she did here and to stay composed in the moment. You got to think about it as well, is that all of these fighters, most of them, Zhang Weili not included, and most of these fighters have fought without a crowd now. And they might be used to it. And to come into an arena, packed arena, I think 15,000 people, and all of them are screaming, booing, doing something, and going nuts. And then to do that in this kind of a fight where Zhang Weili was coming in, I believe, as a favorite. Yeah, she was a favorite, and to do what she did here was just incredible. It was amazing. I think that I think Rose Namajunas is going to be a tough champion to defeat. I mean, we've seen her lose in the past now, but this new Rose Namajunas is something special. She's got the confidence. She's got the team behind her, not that she did before, but now it's just, you can tell that everybody believes in her. She believes in herself, most importantly. And to do that to a champion, that was, Zhang Weili was shot out of a cannon and was really going to be someone that everybody thought was going to be in as a champion for a very long time. She's still very young, so she's got some time. And for sure she'll be back and fighting for that belt again. But what a special win for Rose Namajunas. After the fight, Zhang Weili thought it was a bad stoppage, but you could see that she just dropped. She fell to the ground, and you could tell that she was out. She was still stumbling after the fight. So I think that it was a good stoppage. But what an incredible kick by Rose Namajunas to get that belt. And everybody was emotional after the fight. Joe Rogan was emotional. A bunch of people were emotional just to see this type of a fun fighter in Rose Namajunas. And it's incredible to see. Nibs, let me know what you think about this fight.
I mean, wow, just like another KO in this card. So that was just an amazing leg kick by Rose. I mean, it was straight to the head, and that was just amazing to see. And as we touched on before, with the crowd back, it has to at least pump these fighters with some adrenaline, because we can really see that these fighters are energized by the crowd. And as soon as Zhang got knocked to the ground, we just hear the crowd erupt. And wow, it just brings the hype back into the sport. And like to see Rose end the fight in this kind of manner, it's just amazing to see, and very happy for her.
Yeah, one of the nicest people in the sport, and she's really believing in herself now, and she's going to be a tough test for a lot of people. Like, I don't know, maybe we could see a rematch with these two fighters, but that was she shut her down. And the thing is what happens is that, fighters go in there and they have this era of invincibility because they haven't lost yet, right? We haven't seen her lose in the octagon. And she does have one loss. I don't know. But Zhang Weili, a lot of people thought she was going to be a destroyer for a long time, and then Rose Namajunas came back and got a belt back. So what a special win. And yeah, I mean, the crowd just popped when that shot was hit. It was amazing. It's just so great to have the fans back. And you can even tell in the commentating that whenever the fans are back, the commentators even get like hyped about it. You could see Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier screaming out Thug Rose and all this kind of stuff. What a special win. Okay, so let's talk about the big one. Kamaru Usman knocks out Jorge Masvidal. Wow. This is another one of those fights that you thought it was going to go one way and then it actually went another way. The wrestler knocks out who we thought was the better striker. Now, he did get him with that amazing jab a couple times, but it was just the power hand of Kamaru Usman to knock out Jorge Masvidal, and you can see it in this shot here. What an amazing win for Kamaru Usman to put the nail in the coffin in this duel between Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman, and the way that the Kamaru Usman he's got pistons of hands. I think Joe Rogan kind of talks about that all the time, but I'm going to steal that from him. But for the wrestler to go in there and knock out Masvidal the way that he did, and it was like the first KO of Masvidal's career, and for it to happen like this is just crazy. To happen in his backyard with all of his fans. He talked about it before the fight, how many tickets he had to buy for his family. It's got to be tough for him. And honestly, Masvidal is at the stage of his career where he's 36 years old. He's getting up there in age. It's just a tough loss. But Kamaru Usman is just, especially, he's talking about it. He's starting to lap people. And he's becoming someone special. He's already someone special. I'm not saying that, but he's coming up with the greats. There's not going to be many arguments left to say that, Kamaru Usman is not at the same class or maybe even surpassed George St. Pierre or some of those other fighters in that weight class. Kamaru Usman is just doing some stuff that's different. What a specimen. And just going in there and really, you could see it like in his game plan. Like DC talked about it at the beginning of the actual fight card where they were just breaking it down with the teleprompter. But they talked about how Kamaru Usman likes to, fake the takedown and use his wrestling in other ways aside from taking people down, obviously. I think that Masvidal came in there with a different kind of game plan. He talked about it himself that he wanted to wrestle, and he was able to get up after one of the takedowns. You could see that his conditioning was a lot better, and you could see that in his physique, he looked a lot better than the last fight, which he only had like a week's notice. Now, it was just like at the beginning in round number 1, you could see that it was a very close kind of fight, but you could at some points Masvidal was getting the better of Kamaru Usman in the striking exchange, but we couldn't see the power. I think at one point in the first round, you might be able to say that Kamaru Usman got wobbled just a bit, but the level, what Trevor Weidman is bringing to Kamaru Usman, and we talked about this in the preview show of this fight, but the stuff that Trevor Weidman's bringing to Kamaru Usman's game, it looks like it's really amplifying what he already has and what he learned at Stanford in MMA, and now learning from his coach Trevor Weidman. I think also having Francis Ngannou is just an added plus. Joe Rogan talked about how he was an integral part of each other's camps. I think that, they mentioned it a couple times, but Kamaru Usman only showed up a little bit before Francis Ngannou's fight, and I think it was vice versa for Francis Ngannou. But anyways, these guys are working together, and it looks like it's helping, right? So I think that it's a good thing, and it was just so unexpected, and the pop and the way that the fans kind of turned around, and especially at the beginning they were booing Kamaru Usman, and then they started cheering for him. What a special win for Kamaru Usman. He's just he's looking incredible. What a card, man. Nibs, let me know your thoughts on this. It's just nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself because this is just like unbelievable for Usman to like actually knock someone out, and especially in that fashion. Like the speed of that arm, like totally knocked him out. And when he just went for the ground and pound, you could see George Masvidal. He tries to get up, and then he just permanently shuts the lights out on him. Like there's no way he's getting back up that. So that was like absolutely picture perfect win for Usman. I'm very happy for him. And yeah, as you said, that it was pretty funny to see the crowd's reaction afterwards, where they just completely turned around and started cheering for him. And also, there's been like a clip on Twitter and all that stuff with Joe Rogan's reaction, and it's just a hilarious sight to see, especially as you said before with the crowd back. It just brings a whole nother level of hype, and you could see Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan just like absolutely insane. Just what an awesome fight. And man, another KO to add to all the other ones. Just very awesome.
Yeah, like Kamaru Usman. Yeah, there's been some TKOs and some other stuff, but this is an awesome way to add to his repertoire. To bring this striking to his game, and we saw it in a little bit in the Colby Covington fight, but we all thought that maybe that was just due to the fact that he was fighting Colby Covington, and but to go against Masvidal, who some people are saying, well, everybody kind of agrees that Masvidal has some great striking. He's done some amazing stuff before with the Darren Till knockout. He the Ben Askren knockout. Just thinking about what he's gonna do, right? Like he's such a cerebral guy that he thought about knocking out Ben Askren in that way, but to it was just it was a tough way for Masvidal to leave the arena, especially in his hometown. It was it must have been a tough loss. I couldn't imagine, but he got interviewed after. He talked about how he's okay. It was the first. Well, this is the first time that he ever has been stopped like this, and it was kind of weird to see. You don't see Masvidal ever like this. We've never seen him get knocked out like this. And Kamaru Usman jumped over the cage and called out to everybody. He's like, "Who's next? Who's better than me?" It's going to be hard to see. We're going to talk about it more on this podcast, but man, there's not many people out there. But Colby Covington looks like he's getting the next shot against Kamaru Usman, and that's going to be a fun fight to watch. There's going to be a lot of hype going into that one, and it looked like at one point Colby Covington was the toughest matchup for Kamaru Usman. Nibs, any last thoughts on this main event?
I mean, one thing to look out for is that Usman is now on a 14-fight win streak, so he's now the second longest in UFC history, only behind Anderson Silva's 16-fight win streak. So that's another thing to look out. So maybe we'll see that in the future.
Yeah, like that's a very good point that you bring up, and for him to potentially break Anderson Silva's record is just is incredible, and it shows you how much we take for granted Kamaru Usman and some of the special stuff that he's doing. They call him the Nigerian Nightmare for a reason, because he was doing some crazy stuff. Even the way that he got the belt against Tyron Woodley, using his wrestling to nullify Tyron Woodley's power. But this is just, he put the nail in the coffin in this, and it's going to be tough for Masvidal. I don't know what's next in his career. He's getting up there in age, like I did mention before. He has his own fighting league. He has other businesses. But you couldn't say that the guy didn't train. He looked in phenomenal shape. What a fight. What a win for Kamaru Usman. And what a card. This was a spectacular card from top to bottom, like we mentioned so many times in this live stream here. Spectacular wins. So thank you for joining me and Nibs in this live stream. It's always fun to do these, especially post-fight stuff. Please, if you're not watching this live, or if you want to check out more, check out our live streams when they do come out. Listen to the podcast on all the podcast networks. That'd be really appreciated. We're on Spotify, iTunes, you name it. Go to thebodypunch.com. We're on there as well. Watch us wherever you can, and we'll make this more interactive. We'll have more people join in, and this was fun. Nibs, thank you for joining me on this live stream. What a fight. What a way to bring back the fans. This is a special moment in MMA history, I think. And from top to bottom, this is one of the best cards, if not the best cards. Maybe I'm just talking about this because it's in the moment. But what a special way for the UFC to come back and have the fans. Nibs, any closing remarks? Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, as we keep on repeating, this card is just amazing. And yeah, it's just picture perfect for the UFC to have the fans back and have this type of a card. So, I mean, I'm very happy to be here, especially live. We have the fans back in the UFC, and we have the fans in the chat live. So, thank you so much for having me.
No worries, man. Anytime. We'll do this again. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening.